I'd like to introduce John Boughton, the Commercial Director for National Express. And as Mark said, John, you've been challenged quite a bit during these last couple of months. What can we learn from the experiences at National Express in the UK?
Jan, thanks very much. And interesting, that poll. I'm hoping to be able to give people maybe a bit more confidence on the answer to that question. Do you believe customers will come back fast after restarting your business? So I will hopefully go through some of the lessons that we've learned. We've restarted, and it's been there's been a lot of lessons we've learned. Before I get on to that, however, I just wanted to very quickly give people a flavour of who we are, because I appreciate that not everybody around the world knows who National Express is. So Hannes, if we can move on to the first slide, that would be great. So we are National Express. We're the UK's national coach operator. We have about 22 million customer journeys per annum. About 700 destinations in our network, operated on a fleet of around 550 vehicles. And we're mainly a leisure operator, so carrying people to see friends and family, carrying people to airports, festivals, events, and so on. So this time of year is a pretty big and important time of year for us. As with everybody else, we were probably sailing along quite happily at the beginning of this year in the first quarter, only then to face a great big punch from COVID. Hannes, if we could go on to the next slide, in March. And we went from a national operator with 1,700 services per day to 0 in 13 days. And that is quite a remarkable and somewhat grim milestone for us. That'll be the first time in 48 years of our history that no vehicles are running on, none of our vehicles are running on the roads, and that date was the 6th of April. And of course, with no services comes no revenue, and obviously us and many others were in that situation as we first got hit with COVID-19. Now, I'm not going to talk about how we sort of managed there. What I want to do is fast forward 87 days to the 1st of July. So Hannes, if we can have the next slide, please. Because actually, I want to look at what's sort of gone right for us. Some things have gone wrong as well, but what's gone right for us, because we have had a pretty good start, and just go through some of the lessons very quickly in the short amount of time that we have. There is one lesson that I haven't written down, which is, my God, it is a lot easier to shut a network down than it is to start one up. And it's going to be a lot longer journey as well. So there are some rocky roads ahead. But yeah, there's lesson one. I think we probably already knew that one. So if we just go on to the first slide, Hannes, that would be great. So I'll start with an old cliche, nothing I like more than an old cliche, which is, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, and rather than screwing your face up about the sour taste of everything. And once you sort of get through the shock of the revenue, the 0 revenue, actually, very quickly as a business, we saw this as perhaps a once in a generation opportunity to rebuild our network in a new way, rebuild it with a new vision. And as a business that's been around for a long time, we had a lot of baggage, we had a lot of legacy, and we had this situation where the majority of our profitable, really good revenue was coming from a minority of services. So we've been able to take the opportunity to refocus our network where we get the most value out of it. And that's a very hard thing to do when you're in a steady state and you're looking at every pound of revenue, and when there are political considerations. When the network's gone and there is no revenue, you were able to rip it up and start again. And that's exactly what we did. Now, the big part of this is that was a very, very heavily data-driven approach to how we restart our network. We've probably done the biggest data analysis exercise that we've ever done in our company over the last 2 months, looking at all the sources of data, internally, externally, search data, our booking trends over the last 5 years, to give us the best information we can get about the shape of network that should come. Hannes, if you could just click forward. And there was a cool bit of data that we were able to use. We partnered with a business that looks at mass people movement using mobile phone data. So this is based on 1 to 2 million mobile phone users in the UK. And what it tells you is when somebody arrives, in this case at Gatwick Airport, it shows you where their final destination is. Where do they finally end up? And using this data, along with all of our own data and that of our third-party partners, you're able to get a really confident picture of where the demand is going to be for your services going forward. So the lesson here was we really took the opportunity to do something cool and to create a much fitter, leaner network, and one that was more modular and one that was more easy to scale. And this will become important later. That's the first lesson. Second lesson is around, and I'll let Hannah just catch up here, is around this. An apprehensive customer will not book. So customers like us have had to go through an emotional sort of acceptance curve, through disbelief, all the way through resistance, relief, and apprehension. And we recognized very early that we had to empathize with our customers to get over that resistance, to provide relief, and to reduce apprehension. And if we didn't do that, then they wouldn't come back to us and they wouldn't book with us. Being apprehensive is something that continues to be a serious issue for us, because with second waves and local lockdowns and quarantine and so on, customers remain apprehensive. So this guided us in two different directions. Next slide, Hannah, please. The first one was we decided that we would be the leader in customer well-being. The biggest question that we thought customers would have, and I think we were right, is, am I going to be safe? Will National Express keep me safe? And we set out very early to go further than anybody else, to be the benchmark for what great looks like in terms of a safe network. And we put in place a huge program of works across our stations and our fleet to make sure that customers felt safe and felt reassured. And you can see a couple of examples here. There's a guy who's fogging the inside of the coach with antiviral solution. That happens a couple of times a day on every coach. And we temperature check our customers before they board. And there's loads of other things too. The second key thing, next slide, Hannah, please, was around uncertainty. We are in this is the definition of uncertain times, and customers saying, is my trip going to go ahead? And if it doesn't go ahead, can I get my money back? And we wanted to make sure that we can answer to the customers, well, if it doesn't go ahead, we will offer you the maximum flexibility. And our feeling was, if we offer you flexibility, then we will first of all get you to come with us, and then we will get you to stay with us. So we have made sure that we've softened our terms and conditions. We give people money back if they're directly affected by coronavirus through a local lockdown, for example. No quibble. And we have avoided a lot of the negative publicity that has perhaps gone with airlines and some train companies who have been a bit difficult in returning customers' money. We wanted to be absolutely flexible. I think the final thing to say here is that our digital channels, in terms of getting these messages across, were absolutely critical to our story. And we relied very, very heavily on social media to get this story out to customers and to get them talking about us. And interestingly, we've seen our NPS increase from 44 to 51 over the last 4 weeks in this time of great disruption, which we're very pleased with. So, final lesson was, when that demand comes in, then we've got to react incredibly fast. And the first bit was, well, we've changed our network to be more modular. We can start small and then grow in whichever direction we like based on where the demand is coming in, still using our data to tell us where that demand is coming, when it's coming. And then we've aimed to move very quickly. So we aim to get a complete new route from a new destination to a new destination in less than 5 days. And that's preparing vehicles, drivers, coach stations. And our board sits 3 times a week to help make those decisions very, very quickly. What we've seen in July is that we've increased our seats offered every week by 100% each week. And we continue to do that as we go into August. So every time we're putting the extra capacity in, we're seeing that demand come through pent-up demand and through what we think we've created ourselves. So that's good. So the result of all this, if we can move on to the final slide, nearly final slide, is that I can't tell you anything at all, I'm afraid, because we are a public company in a list in a closed period. So I'm sorry to give you an anticlimax. All I would say, if I tell you anything, I'd be shot by my finance director. So I can't tell you. However, suffice to say, we have started much better than we predicted we would. Each time we've increased supply, we've seen demand follow. We've started to get to the stage where we're starting to fine tune things in terms of pricing, which Max, I think, is going to talk about shortly. And we've been really pleased with the progress so far. So it's gone well so far. We've prepared really well, but there will be rocky roads ahead. And this is not going to be a smooth path out of here. And as I said right at the beginning, a lot easier to shut it down than to restart. So we do have a long period ahead. But coming back to the poll question, things have come back much, much faster than we thought they would. So I would urge everybody to be optimistic. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for your optimism and for the message you bring here to us. Compared to pre-corona, John, at what percentage of the offer are you today? If all National Express services pre-corona were 100%, at what offer are you today?
We're in the region, it depends on where you look, of 20 to 30%.
Good.
Now, that's after 4 weeks. So are we pleased with that? Yes, we are.
Okay, that's very clear. And we also see that National Express is making great efforts to restore the confidence of the passenger. This would also include, I think, increased costs that you make with a lesser revenue compared to before. How should I understand this balance?
You understand it absolutely right. We see this as a necessary investment in order to rebuild our revenue back to pre-COVID times. I think we will in the end see a slower recovery if we didn't make that investment. What I agree with is it is a bit of a leap of faith. We've got to believe that this investment we're making now will pay dividends in future. And that is how we've approached this, to say, if we get customers reassured, if we invest in what we think is investing in their loyalty, then this will pay us back in future months and years.
Okay. In the UK, what is the occupancy rate that is allowed? Are 100% full buses allowed in the UK?
The guidance is not particularly clear. I think that will be familiar to many people. We are working at roughly 50% capacity at the moment, and that will gradually increase as we get smarter about how we group people on coaches. But generally, we try and have at least a 1 meter social distance between groups of customers.
Okay, so you go to, let's say, about a 50% occupancy.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you so much, John.